Okay, hello and welcome to another online workshop brought to you by Young Scientist. This is the voice of Satish, and I will be the facilitator for today's session, which is an introduction to critical thinking. This is part of the Brain Excel program, in which we have several topics. This is the first of the series of sessions. Our agenda today is to talk about critical thinking, discuss intelligence specifically, then do a bunch of different puzzles, brain teasers. The workshop is for 2 hours, and we will take a short break after we reach the midpoint. So, if you are here, part of this session, then these terms, these ideas must mean quite a lot to you, or at least you have an interest in these things. We shared an IQ test with you, and most of you took it. So you must be fascinated by intelligence and how it's measured. Should also have an interest in improving your reasoning ability, your thinking ability. If you have an interest in critical thinking, then logic and reason and intelligence must be things which you value. Today we are going to focus on critical thinking, first by discussing what intelligence means. Now, if I show you this picture, I'm sure most of you would recognize the concept that is being represented here. It's a widely popular notion that the two halves of the brain have specific functions, or rather they specialize in certain types of functions. Biologically, you can identify regions in the brain where the brain cells are specialized for certain functions like language or movement or memory, logical thinking, and so on. It's a popular belief that the left side of the brain is a creative center, creative and emotional center, which helps you to engage in arts, craft, building human relationships, and so on. And the right side of the brain is more suited for rational thinking, logical thinking, decision making, and so on. While this notion is challenged by modern research, which tells us that the brain is rather plastic, meaning it can adapt to requirements. Say if you have an injury and a portion of your brain gets damaged beyond repair, then it doesn't mean you will completely lose the ability that was once taken care of by that part of the brain. What happens is the other parts of the brain would adapt. They would train themselves to take up activities that the damaged part was doing earlier. So the brain is a plastic organ, it's flexible. While that debate continues as to how rigid the localization of activities are in the brain, we can all agree that the brain is the seat of consciousness and thinking. We think using our brain. We don't think using our lungs or our hands or our eyes. Thoughts emanate from the brain. Human beings, they belong to a category of living organisms known as intelligent life form. Other intelligent life forms include dogs, dolphins, elephants, or even crows and ravens. Now, what are the traits? What are the characteristics we have to look for to identify a life, a living organism as an intelligent life form? They need to be able to learn. They need to learn from the environment and use it to solve problems. They need to be self-aware. Some birds don't have self-awareness. When they look at their reflection in a mirror, they go on to attack it, interpreting their reflection as another bird. But there are some animals which can recognize their reflection in the mirror. Life has to be creative, meaning it has to create things that it had not done before. An intelligent life also expresses itself, whether it's through vocalization, creating sounds, or through creating visual things, maybe by dance or movement or by actions. Then we consider that life form to be intelligent. They also need to have feelings. Those of you who have pets or who have interacted with pets like dogs or cats, or have interaction with farm animals like cattle or goat, you would know that they do express emotions. A dog can be happy or angry, and so can several mammals in complex life. Intelligent life also have thoughts. They need to think. We know for a fact that dogs can dream. Sometimes, like how we walk during sleep, dogs can also sleepwalk. If they are chasing something while dreaming, they might suddenly start running and bump into a wall and then wake up. And finally, and this is where probably humans are sufficiently complex, it's the ability to think abstractly. To put it simply, if you're able to do algebra, then you can think abstractly. And so far, humans have been the only life form that is advanced enough to do complex algebra. So these are the traits of intelligent life form. And intelligence is a consequence of brain function. The brain is made up of millions of cells known as the brain cell or the nerve cell. And here is a schematic diagram of a brain cell. As we can see, it's rather long, and often they can be several centimeters long. And they act as essentially small pieces of wire. And our brain functions by creating electrical signals, small electrical current that run through these nerve cells. And the connections between the nerve cells determine how complex a brain is. If there are lots and lots of brain cells that have lots and lots of connections between them, then you have a very complex brain capable of complex thoughts. A brain cell or a nerve cell is also known as a neuron. There's about 86 billion neurons in an average human brain. And the number of connections between them is much, much higher. So it's now time to ask the question, what is intelligence? Now, the dictionary defines intelligence rather simply. It's the ability to acquire, understand, and use knowledge. You can loosely define knowledge as information. If you can get information, if you can understand information, and then if you can use the information, then you can be said to have intelligence. This is a rather simplistic definition of intelligence and rather quite broad. Now, if you take a typical IQ test, an intelligence quotient test, it's supposed to measure or give a measure of the intellectual capacity. But you will see that an IQ test has limited range, or it deals with only a small fraction of the knowledge that's available to humans. To understand this further, we'll do one activity. So the next few slides, I'll be showing a bunch of pictures. And you're going to tell me the different words that connect them. You need to try to find the best word that applies to all the pictures that you see in each slide. You can type out your words in the chat. Let's start with this one. What comes to your mind? I see music, creativity. What else connects all of them? Creativity, productivity, they're very, very general. But music tends to be very specific to these pictures. How about music, rhythm, sound? Frequency, pitch. So here we are dealing with sound and hearing, listening, creating sound, pleasing sound, creating music, following a melody or following a rhythm. How about this one? Whoa, I suddenly see logic. I don't know how that connects to a sculpture of a deity. Architecture, okay. How does architecture relate to DNA? Planning, fine. Structure is a very good term. Architects, when they design, they are planning for creating a structure. A sculpture has a specific structure. It's supposed to represent something. DNA has a very interesting structure. Form, it's a very good term. Form, structure, design, all of these ideas connect these photos. Now, if you look at, if you compare what the human is drawing with the picture of the DNA, there is a relationship between those two. The human is drawing a blueprint. A blueprint is used to create a building. And the DNA is a biological blueprint for a living organism. You build an organism based on the specifications of the DNA. So design, a structure, planning, form, shape, all of these connect these images. What about this one? Logic, ideas, science, invention. They are good descriptors for these photos. So logic, science, mathematics. Describes all of these images very nicely. Knowledge is rather general. Knowledge is information. You can have knowledge about history, you can have knowledge about sport, but that's not what we are dealing with here. Specifically, we are dealing with mathematics, science, and logic. What about here? What do we see? You see books, writing, authors. There's some people who are reading too. What connects all of these images? It's not the act of writing. It's not just the act of writing. It's not just the medium. It's not essentially a book, always. Culture, again, is a very general term. There's one thing that connects all of these images. What do you need to write in a book? What do you need if you have imagination, if you have pen, if you have ink, if all the writing instruments, you have the motivation in your head, but you still need one more thing to write something. Yeah, all of that. Yes, I see you're getting lots of options. Yeah, all of that is needed. But all of that will not help you if you don't have this one essential thing. What's the foundation of writing? I don't see it yet. Nope, not yet. Let me give you a hint. It's not physical. Okay, let me just give it to you. You need a language. Without language, you cannot write. Without understanding a language, you cannot read. So you can use language in a variety of ways. And here, we're essentially looking at a written form of language. How you're able to communicate with words on paper. Now, what about this one? So you're looking at one word that connects all of the images, not just a few. Okay, so so I see that besides sports, you guys are struggling to connect it to dance or acting. So what connects the human activity of sport, dance, and theater? In all of these things, if you want to excel, you need to have excellent control over something. What is that? What do you need to be good at if you want to be either a good sportsman or a good dancer or a good actor? Yeah. Arvind got it. Body control. You need to control your body precisely. In acting, it's mostly facial expressions, but it also goes beyond that. Your body language can be used extensively to bring a character to life. In sports, you need to have a well trained body, either for a specific sport or good fitness in general. Dancing is the graceful movement of your body to communicate something. Okay, moving on. What do we have here? Which idea connects all of these images? I see many of you are identifying that it's about leadership. Whether you lead a classroom or a community, either as a teacher or as a political activist, we're talking about leadership. How you're able to inspire people to follow you. They may or may not be role models. A leader fights for something or represents a set of ideas that coincides with your own. They convince you that certain goals are good and they devise a plan and offer methods of achieving those goals. They convince you that the method they are proposing is the best option, and you're compelled to follow them. All right, what about this? Silence. Thinking. But what kind of thinking is this? Pondering, wondering, reflecting upon yourself. There is a nice word that characterizes such thinking. Meditation is one method of pursuing this thinking. Now there is a contrast between what you see here and over here. Over here, it's about a leader connecting with a group of people. And over here, you have one person connecting not with others, but with themselves. So you could call these actions as introspective, whether it is through meditation or through introspection, reflecting upon oneself, reading philosophy. Introspective thinking is represented here by these images. And over here, leaders exhibit the opposite of it, which would be extroversion, being an extrovert, communicating and connecting with other human beings. And here, it's about connecting with yourself, introspection. Okay, so what about here? I see nature being offered by many of you. Connecting with nature, with care for nature. So understanding how nature works and living sustainably with it. Whether it's about creating meaningful connections with individual animals, like how Jane Goodall is doing there with the chimpanzee, or whether it's about sustainable farming practices or fishing. You don't want to do either of those extensively. It's all about managing your waste. Responsibility, sustainability, environmentalism. All of these ideas connect nicely with these images. So the question is, what's the point? Why did we do this exercise? To show you that intelligence has several phases, several aspects, several subdivisions. Starting from the top, you guys can remember we started with music and rhythm. That's a type of thinking, a type of intelligence recognized by modern scientists. It's known as the musical rhythmic intelligence. Then we looked at shapes, designs, planning, structure. All of that requires visual spatial intelligence. Then we saw literature, writing, books, language. That represents verbal, linguistic intelligence. Then we looked at science, mathematics, logic, logical mathematical intelligence. And after that, we looked at sport and dance and acting, which requires you to control your body precisely. which requires bodily kinesthetic intelligence. Then we saw leaders who are extroverts. They excel in interpersonal intelligence, building interpersonal relationships, connecting with other human beings. And then we moved on to introspection, meditation, philosophy, and so on. That represents intrapersonal intelligence. How well can you understand yourself, your mind, and so on. And finally, we saw images about environmentalism, living sustainably, taking care of nature and animals. A naturalistic intelligence. How well can you connect with nature? So all of these, although rather distinct, they are parts of intelligence. Now think, does an IQ test check all of these aspects of your intelligence? Of the 8 forms of intelligence, an IQ test typically only checks perhaps your logical and mathematical, your verbal linguistic, and to a degree your visual and spatial. So an IQ test has limited capacity in determining your intelligence. So this theory of multiple intelligence was popularized by a mathematician known as Martin Gardner. He wrote extensively about mathematics and puzzles and improvement of one's critical thinking in the 20th century. Due to his efforts, scientists and educationalists now are more willing to accept that a person's intelligence is not limited to what the traditional school tests upon. Your examination scores and IQ tests and the aptitude tests, they have a limited scope in determining how good you can function and perform in a society. Problem solving is not limited to solving problems in algebra, mathematics, or geometry, or even language. Real life problems require you to draw from different sources of knowledge. In your workplace, you might encounter a conflict between 2 different employees. Having a high IQ test does not automatically tell you that you're good or well equipped in resolving such conflicts. There can be problems between different factions, maybe between different countries. Again, having a high IQ test doesn't mean you're equipped to settle disputes between countries or legal issues. Not only does it require you to acquire knowledge specific to those conflicts or areas, maybe international law or conflict resolution, it requires you to be more of an extrovert, to have an interpersonal intelligence so that you can understand humans, societies at large. So human understanding of intelligence has broadened to accept several forms. You can ask yourself, is a musician intelligent? Is Mozart or Tansen intelligent persons? They may not do very well in an IQ test, but they definitely are not normal. They're extraordinary. They create extraordinary pieces of art, things which an average human being is not capable of. So, is intelligence innate? Is it something we are born with? Not necessarily. The human brain is an organ which can be made better. You can exercise your brain just as you exercise your muscles. And if you don't exercise your muscles, they will become weak. So will your brain as well. How do we exercise our brain? There are different types of exercises to keep your body fit and healthy. You don't only run to keep yourself healthy. No, you do stretching, you do deep breathing, you do strength exercise, you lift weights, you do pull-ups, you do push-ups, you do cardiovascular exercises. You may have leg day, you may have upper body day. You could do planks. There's so many different things. There are even different categories of exercises. You could do CrossFit, you could do calisthenics, you could simply do sport, just engage in active sport. Or you could be happy with just doing yoga and feel healthy. There are different types and schools of thought when it comes to exercises. Like that, there are different methods when it comes to exercising your brain. Critical thinking is an umbrella term that represents a development in your thinking ability. It's widely regarded that there are 6 stages in developing your critical thinking. Starting from being unreflective thinkers, people who don't even recognize that they have problems in their thinking. We all have problems in our thinking. Every day we make mistakes and we recognize our mistakes and hopefully we learn from it. The first step would be to understand that you have problems in your thinking. And once you recognize, you need to act on it. You need to start making active effort to improve your thinking, to avoid your mistakes. And you need to do this frequently, not just once every blue moon. Are you doing this every day? Are you doing this every hour? Are you doing this constantly? Are you always looking for problems in your thinking and fixing it? Are you committed to a lifelong improvement? Or do you just work on your thinking abilities in your school, and once you finish school, you just forget everything? You think you have accomplished training your brain, and then you start digging. Then finally, critical thinking becomes innate, becomes part of you. You cannot not think critically. Anything that you think about is critical in nature. It's like second nature for you. It's almost instinctive. Hey, I see a question here. Would Sherlock Holmes be considered an accomplished thinker? I don't know much about Sherlock Holmes, but I believe he's definitely an advanced thinker. There are times when Sherlock Holmes uh, doesn't care much about life, when he doesn't have a case to work on, he becomes lazy and lethargic. It's only when he gets a case that he's completely engaged and he's unparalleled when it comes to deductive thinking, deducing from clues. All right. So critical thinking provides you with a bunch of tools that helps you progress in different stages and become better thinkers. So let's do some critical thinking activities. Now, this is an interactive activity. Now, what it means is that I'm going to give you a scenario. And then you're going to ask me yes or no type questions. And depending on my answer, you need to form a solution. Now, I have a request for everybody here. Some of these problems may be familiar to you. If it is familiar, please don't blurt out the answers. Let the others take an attempt as well. It's similar to a guess who quiz. It's more of a detective work type problem. Now, to ask your question, you can raise your hand and then I can unmute you and you can voice your question. Please remember, it has to be a yes or no type question. It cannot be a descriptive type question. My response will only be yes or no, or I can tell you that the question is irrelevant. Okay? So it's like a hint. That means you need to think in a different direction. So are you guys ready? Yeah, you have to ask the question to me. I am posing these scenarios for you. You can either send the question in the chat or you can raise your hand and I will unmute you. All right, here's the first one. A man lives on the 10th floor of a building, an apartment. Every day he takes the elevator to goes to work. When he returns, he takes the elevator not to the 10th floor to where his home is, but he takes it to the 7th floor. And then he takes the stairs to climb the rest of the way. He hates climbing the stairs. Then why does he do this? So this is the situation for you fellows. So you can ask me questions to get more information that can help you find out why this person is behaving so strangely. Okay, there's a question. Does he have keys to his house? Yes. But did someone raise the hand? Okay, is he fat? Is he doing it for exercise? No. It looks like Prithvi has an answer. If none of you wants to participate, then I will let Prithvi give the answer. Okay, Arvind has raised his hand.
Sir, is this apartment in the same building?
Yes, it is. The apartment is the building. Okay, does the elevator stop in the evening at 7th floor? No. The elevator has complete access to all the floors. I'll give you guys one more minute before I let Prithvi give the answer. Okay, Prithvi, I'm going to Okay, Prithvi, you can give us the answer.
Okay, yes. Is the person like too short or something?
Why do you think he is too short?
Because when he goes down, the ground floor button will of course be like down, like like down in the lift, so he can press that. But when he comes in after the office or wherever he goes, it's too tall for him. That's why he reaches till the 7th floor and then he walks up.
Yes, that's right. So the most popular solution to this particular puzzle is that the person we're dealing with is a dwarf. He's a very short person. So he is not able to reach the button for the 10th floor when he returns home. He can reach it to press the 0 button or the ground floor button because it's usually at the bottom of the panel. As Yuva has pointed out, if he is accompanied by someone else, he can request them to press the 10th floor. So that's something you could have asked. Is he alone in the elevator when this happens? Or is he with someone else? Unless you ask questions to get information, you won't be able to get the data needed to find a solution. So this lateral thinking problem exercise is also an exercise to develop your ability to ask good questions. Let's move on. Scenario number 2. A woman goes into a bar. She asks the barman for a glass of water. The barman pulls out a gun and points it at the woman. The woman says, "Thank you," and walks out. Why did this happen? Why did she ask for water? That's not an yes or no type question. So I cannot answer that question. You have to find out. Okay, Arvind has raised his hand.
Does that bar serve water?
Yeah, all bars serve water. Is there a follow-up question?
No, sir, I'm just thinking.
Okay. Why would a woman desperately need water? And how can having a gun pulled at your face be an alternative to drinking water? Okay, Arvind has another question.
Did she dress like a man?
No.
Okay, sir. Yes, sir.
Your questions will have to be yes or no type.
Okay, sir.
Yes, Arvind. Yeah, do you have another question?
No, sir.
Mahan, do you have a question? You've been unmuted.
Is it a water gun?
Is that a water gun? No. It's a real gun.
Is she a thief?
Is she a thief? No. She's a normal person.
Did she speak in a secret code?
That's a good question. Did she speak in a secret code and was showing the gun a secret message? No, it's not. There are no secret messages being exchanged between these two persons. Good question. Okay, looks like you guys are struggling a lot. So let me just give you the answer for now. Mahan has a question. Let's have that as the last question. Yes, Mahan.
I'm sorry, I forgot.
Okay. It's all right. Arvind?
So is she a dwarf? And the barman couldn't see her, so he thought it was she was a ghost.
That's a hilarious suggestion. No, that's not the case here. Mahan, have you remembered your question?
What sort of expression did she? I mean, was she terrified when he pulled out the gun?
Good question. Was she terrified? Was she afraid? Was she in shock? Yes. She was very much in shock when the barman pulled out the gun. But she says thank you and leaves without drinking water. Arvind says he has the answer. Okay, Arvind, let's listen.
So the barman didn't allow any woman inside the bar, so he took out the gun, and the woman was terrified, and she just quietly went out.
Okay, that's interesting, but that's not what happened. No. All right, guys, I'll just give you the answer. It's rather simple. There you go. The woman had hiccups. A common remedy for hiccups is a glass of water. Another common remedy is being shocked, being surprised, being terrified. The barman saw that the woman had hiccups, and he decided to surprise her. And it worked. That's why the woman thanked him and left. She no longer needed water. Okay, how about this one? So the details are here in the slide. I'll just tell you, there is a barn, a wooden structure, and then a man is found hanging from the rafter. And in the picture, you can see the horizontal beams, right? That's known as a rafter. So from that, a man was hanging. It was locked from the inside. And he could not have climbed to the rafter to hang the rope. The walls are too far away, and the rafter is too high. And there are no chairs or tables or any furniture inside. It's completely empty. So how did he hang himself? Arvind has raised his hand. Yes, Arvind.
Was there any furniture in the room to help him?
No. Completely empty.
Was there any animal in the wooden barn?
A good question. No animal. No animal right now.
Was there any water?
Was there any what?
Water.
I couldn't hear you.
Was there any water?
Water. Where?
Below him.
Okay. I think we know where you're heading, don't we? Is that right, Mahan? Is that your line of thinking?
Yeah.
Yes, there you go. So one possible solution is that he stepped on top of a block of ice. He hung the rope and then he hanged himself. And after a while, when they discovered him, the ice had melted, leaving a puddle of water. And another solution we could do is if the barn had been open, then there could have been an animal inside, and he could have climbed on top of the animal, and then he hanged himself, and then the animal left the barn. So there are a few different solutions to this scenario. Yes, Mahan, is there something you wanted to add?
No, I forgot to lower my hand.
So the second answer was what I thought.
Yeah, that there was an animal inside. Yep. So those are two different solutions for this scenario. Okay, let's do one more and then we'll take a 5-minute break. How about that? A man pushed his car. Okay, he stopped when he reached a hotel, and then he knew he was bankrupt, out of money. Okay, he was completely broke. Why did this happen? How did this happen?
So when he was pushing the car, was the car locked or unlocked?
Irrelevant.
Okay, sir. So I have. So where were his car keys?
That's not a yes or no type question.
Okay, sir, were his car keys inside the car?
Irrelevant. So that means you need to think differently. So questions about the car is not, it's not going to help you. Okay, Tapas has a question. Yes.
Maybe he got a email inside on his phone.
Did he get an email informing that he got bankrupt? No.
Oh.
Did the car have gas in it?
Irrelevant.
Why did he push the car?
That's not a yes or no type question. You can't ask me like that. Do you have a different question that I can answer by saying yes or no?
So did he lock the car?
Irrelevant. So questions about the car is not going to help you. Whether did he lock, was there fuel in the car, blah blah blah, is not going to help you. Yes, Bhuvanesh.
Sir, was he playing? I think he was playing a game. The car was a piece in the game.
What game is that?
The only game I know with a car piece in a hotel is Monopoly.
Yeah, that's right. He was playing Monopoly, and the card was token he was using. And when he reached a hotel on the board, he realized that he could not pay the rent, and he lost the game by becoming bankrupt. Good job. Yeah. So here in this scenario, the car is not a real car. It's a small token, a toy car in a game of Monopoly. Okay. I think we can take a break right now for 5 minutes. It's now 7:15. When do you guys come back by 7:20? Now we are ready to move on to the next segment. On decision making. In the a worksheet that has been sent to you, there are several more of lateral thinking problems, like the death in a field, trouble with sons, east or west, the missing man, and so on. So feel free to play this with your friends and family. It will be quite a lot of fun. You could arrive at interesting solutions. All right, so now we are ready for decision making. All right, so a couple of you have raised your hands. Hi, Bhuvanesh.
Yes, sir.
What's up?
Nothing, sir. I just wanted to ask where you found all of these.
Oh, these are more like classic problems when it comes to critical thinking.
Okay, sir.
You can search for lateral thinking problems, and you'll find several um, such questions, scenarios.
Okay.
Arvind, is there a question?
Yes, sir. Sir, will you share us all these lateral thinking problems?
Yeah, we have shared them in the worksheet with you.
Okay, sir. And sir, you numbered that question wrong. The depth of the field, it must be 5.
Okay, that's fine. Thanks for letting me know. I'll change it after the session.
Yes, sir. And also the next one you put 5.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. So the next segment is about decision making. So far, with lateral thinking problem, we were looking at something that had happened, and we looked for clues for more information to figure out why it happened. Now we are dealing with the future. What do we do? How do we affect the future? How can information, data help us to make better decisions? So let's have a scenario, right? You're traveling in an aircraft with a young child, and then there is a technical problem, maybe turbulence mid-air, and then oxygen masks are deployed. They fall in front of you. What do you do? Do you help yourself first and then you help the child? Or do you help the child first and then yourself? What would be the right thing to do? Arvind, do you have a question?
No, sir, you asked me to unmute.
Okay. What would you guys do? And what would be your rationale? How would you justify choosing one of these two actions? Bhuvanesh says you need to help the child first because it's the right thing to do to help someone who's weaker before you help yourself. Is there someone here who feels that they should help themselves first and then help the child? So Eva says you need to put your mask on first so that you'll have more time to save the child. Now, when it comes to answering questions like these, we need to look at consequences of each of the choices. What would be the result? And that can help us to arrive at the best decision. For example, if you put on your mask, then you know you will remain conscious. You're not going to pass out. You won't faint. If the child passes out, you can still help the child. However, if you try to help the child first, you may remain conscious, you may help the child, and then you may be able to help yourself. But if you pass out, then you cannot help the child. Or even this can happen. Maybe you can help the child, and before you put on a mask for yourself, you become unconscious, and the child is unable to help you. That would also be a tragedy. So considering the different outcomes, the best option here seems to be that you need to help yourself first. Put on your mask so that you can help the child too. afterward. So both of you will be safe. But if you try to help the child first, there is a chance that you will become unconscious and unable to help yourself, or you will be unconscious before you help the child even. And both of you will be facing trouble. Okay, how about this scenario? So you're walking next to a lake and then you find that someone has fallen into it. They're unable to swim and they are calling for help. But you are not an experienced swimmer. You have never helped anyone from drowning before. You know that there is a life jacket somewhere nearby. And you also determine that it will take you 3 minutes to go and bring it. This person is struggling to stay above the water and breathe. What do? Do you run and get the life jacket and then save the person? Or do you jump into the lake immediately and try to save the person, even though you have not much experience with this? Okay, so I see a few responses here. Bhuvanesh says option A, because it's the safest. Only one person's life is put on risk. If you jump into the lake, both of you could drown. So that's one way of resolving this situation. But there is also the risk that by the time you run, grab the life jacket and come back, in those 3 minutes, the person can drown. So it's not a very clear-cut answer here. Is it better to risk one life or two? Is it okay to risk your own life when you're trying to save another? Mohan says it depends on the intensity, right? When you're in such a situation, you will feel panic, you will feel fear. You will be assessing the risk. And sometimes emotions can get the better of you. As Bhuvanesh pointed out, you find the least risk when you run and go get the life rafter. But it's only the least risk if you're counting the number of lives put at risk. By delaying, you're increasing the risk of the person who's already in the water. Now, in such situations, there are no clear answers here. I see Yuva has raised his hand.
So would you have to wear the life jacket and then jump?
Oh no, with a life jacket like that, you can just throw it to the person in the water. Then they can grab onto it and then they can make their way to the bank. So the point here is in a life or death situation, it's very, very difficult to make a decision. And oftentimes, the different options might seem equivalent. One option would seem as good as the other. So what do? Whatever you do, the worst thing you can do is delaying your decision. You need to be very quick in certain situations. If you just stand there looking at the person and wondering whether you should jump into the lake or run to get the life jacket, you're wasting precious time. Should either immediately run, go get the life jacket, or immediately jump into the lake. The more you delay, the worse it's going to be for both options. Okay, so the lesson here is inaction is the enemy here. Delaying your decision is a decision as well, and that's the worst decision you can make here. All right, now let's move on to the next segment. This will be the final segment for today. We have about 25 minutes left. Maybe we can do a couple of these brain teasers. All right, so here we have a problem. So you are a boy or a girl, whatever it is, and you have two more persons with you, two adults, a butler and your grandpa, who is very, very old. You're all being chased by a bunch of zombies. And you come to a bridge. Once you cross the bridge, you guys will be safe. That's because the bridge can hold only two persons at a time because it's very old. And as soon as the zombies try to cross the bridge would break from their weight and they would fall down and they can no longer get to you. Now, since the bridge is very old, you need a torch to cross the bridge safely. Now, when you reach the bridge, you look back and then you make a quick calculation that in exactly 17 minutes, the zombies will come to where you are. They will come to the bridge. So within 17 minutes, you guys will have to cross the bridge, two at a time, okay, carrying a torch, which you have only one of. The boy takes 1 minute to cross the bridge, the girl takes 2 minutes, the butler takes 5 minutes, and your grandpa takes 10 minutes. So how do you organize this escape plan so that you guys can get across the bridge in exactly 17 minutes? Okay, if you refer to the worksheet that was sent to you, you'll have a very convenient table of sort to help you calculate the duration of your escape plan. So in each trip, you will be there will be two persons crossing a bridge, and one person will have to come back with the torch so that the next two persons will have the torch with them when they cross the bridge. Okay, I see a couple of you guys have raised your hand.
So first the boy and the grandpa should go.
So Arvind, does this mean you have an answer?
Yeah.
Okay, hold on a minute, please. Now let me put this down on the screen while you're giving me the answer. Okay, so who's going to be in the first trip?
So the boy and the grandpa.
The boy and the grandpa. So the boy is going to take 1 minute. The grandpa is going to take 10 minutes. Okay. And who's going to come back with the torch?
The boy.
So he's going to come back. So he's going to take, say this is boy. So 1, 10, 1 minute. So here he takes the first trip takes 11 minutes.
So while the boy has reached and the grandpa is still going, there'll still be 8 minutes remaining.
Okay. So what happens in trip number 2?
So the girl will go. She'll take the torch from the boy and go.
Okay. Who goes with the girl?
The grandpa will continue his journey with the girl.
The grandpa is already on the other side of the bridge.
Oh, it's like that. Oh, then the butler will go.
Okay. So the butler takes 5 minutes. And who brings back the torch?
The girl.
Okay. So 2 minutes, 5 minutes, and 2 minutes.
Oh, I thought that the grandpa can still go on when the girl is going. But that can't happen.
Okay, let's do this again, shall we? So let's listen to Bhuvanesh. Hi, Bhuvanesh.
Hello, sir. So in trip 1,
Yeah.
the boy and the girl will go. So the
Okay.
total the boy and the girl will go.
The boy and the girl. All
So
right.
it will be 2 minutes long. The boy will return the torch.
The boy will bring the torch back. Now, when the boy and the girl go together, they'll take 2 minutes because the boy has to slow down for the girl.
Yes, sir.
Comes
2
back.
minutes.
The torch will take only 1 minute. So that will be 3 minutes in total.
Yes, sir, you're right. And then trip number 2, the grandpa and the butler go.
Okay. Grandpa and the butler go.
And then the girl will return with the torch.
And the girl will return with the torch. All right. So grandpa will take 10 minutes. Butler will take 5. They go together. They'll take a total of 10 minutes. And since the girl is coming back, she will take 2 minutes. So 12 minutes for the second trip.
Yeah, and then the boy and the girl go together.
And then finally, the boy and the girl will go. 1, 2, they don't need to come back because everybody is on the other side of the bridge by now. And since they go together, the slower person dictates the pace. So they'll take 2 more minutes. So we have 3 plus 12 plus 2. And how much is that?
17 minutes.
Exactly 17 minutes. Okay, so here the trick, if you will, is to have the grandpa and the butler go together. These two are the slowest persons. Right? And when they travel together, they don't waste much time. If you put grandpa with the boy who could travel across the bridge quickly will be slowed very much by the grandpa. It's better to put grandpa and butler together. You can save time that way. You first send the fastest persons, the boy and the girl, across the bridge so that they can come back quickly with the torch. And then you send the slowest persons together so that they don't waste anyone else's time while crossing the bridge. And then finally, the fastest persons again cross the bridge to safety. And with that, we can escape from the zombies in 17 minutes. All right. Are there any questions? Did you guys understand the problem and the solution? All right, then we'll move on to the next problem. Okay, so here's the solution if you guys were wondering. Boy and the girl go first. Boy brings back the torch. Then the grandpa and the butler, the slowest persons, go together, and the girl brings back the torch. And then the boy and the girl cross the bridge just as the zombies reach the bridge after 17 minutes. Yuva, did you want to share something?
Yes. So if the hole is in the bridge,
Okay.
there is a hole in the bridge. Is there a hole in the middle of the bridge?
Maybe. It's a very old bridge. The specifics are not important. The point is only 2 persons can cross the bridge and they need to have a torch when doing so. If there are more than 2 persons, the bridge will break. If you try to cross the bridge without a torch, you will be in trouble. Okay. Now we move on to the next brain teaser, the burning rope problem. So there are 2 ropes. They are coated with oil. You can light them up and they will burn nicely. Each rope takes 60 minutes to burn. If you light it up at one end, it will take 60 minutes for it to burn completely. The rate of burning is not constant. That means in some parts of the rope it will burn slowly and in some parts it will burn quickly. It's not a uniform burning. You only have one lighter, by the way. Now, using these ropes, how can you measure 45 minutes? Okay, let me explain the problem again. You have two ropes. They are coated with oil. You have one lighter. Each rope takes 60 minutes to burn completely if you light it at one end, like a wick. Now, using these ropes, how can you measure 45 minutes of time? If you light one end of one rope, and if you wait for it to burn completely, you know 60 minutes have passed. How can you know that exactly 45 minutes have passed? You cannot cut the ropes, if you're wondering. Okay, Arvind has raised his hand.
So first burn one rope and measure how much distance it takes in 45 minutes. And then when you're burning the other rope, you will know how much it takes.
Well, you don't have a watch. How would you know when 45 minutes have passed?
Uh, uh,
That's all you have. You have these two ropes, you have one lighter. That's it. There's nothing else around you. Using these two, how can you measure 45 minutes of time? You are asking, how can you measure time? Well, when one rope burns completely, then if you lit it at one end, you know 60 minutes have passed. It's essentially a clock. Is there anyone near him? No, these are, I don't know why you're asking these questions. It's not a lateral thinking problem. It's a straightforward problem. There are no hidden information here. Okay, Bhuvanesh has an interesting question. Can we burn at both ends? Yes, you can. What will that do? Yes, Bhuvanesh.
Yeah, sir. So the reason I asked, can we burn at both ends? So Like if you burn it at both ends, then it'll only take half the time for the rope to burn.
Okay.
So what you do is you burn the first rope at both ends, and at the same time burn the second rope only at one end. And then by the time the first rope finishes burning, half an hour will have passed. And then you burn the other end of the second rope. That will take 15 minutes now. And then that's 45 minutes if you just add it.
Yes, that's very good. That is the solution to the problem here. So if you light the rope at one end, you know it's going to take 60 minutes to burn completely. If you light it on both ends, it's going to burn at twice the speed, right? So it will only take 30 minutes to burn. Now, since you have two ropes, this is what you do. You take both the ropes. One rope, you light it at both ends, and the second rope, you only light it at one end. When the first rope burns completely, you know 30 minutes have passed. And you also know the second rope still has 30 minutes left in it. Okay? But you only need to measure 15 minutes. So what you do is you immediately burn the other end of the second rope. Now this remaining part will only take 15 minutes to burn. So in total, the burning will take 30 minutes plus 15 minutes, which equals 45 minutes. Okay. Does this make sense to everybody? Good. Very good. All right, guys. We only have 5 minutes left. There are a bunch of other puzzles which you can do. Some of them can be found in the worksheet. And then whatever time that's left, let's see if we can do any additional problems. How about this one? The chicken egg puzzle. Okay. Let me put it right here. So the problem goes like this. One and a half chickens lay 1.5 eggs in 1.5 days. How many eggs does one chicken lay in 1 day? Okay, it looks like Arvind knows the answer.
So first of all, there can't be half a chicken. There can only be one whole chicken.
Okay, putting that aside, do you have an answer? A solution?
Otherwise, it will be 1.
1. So one chicken lays one egg in one day.
Yeah.
Okay. How did you come to this answer? What was your calculation?
All of them have the same thing of half 1.5, 1.5, 1.5. So if one chicken must lay one egg in one day. So if you take it in other words, so you can say like in 24 hours, chicken in 20 in 36 hours, a chicken lays 1.5 eggs, and so in 1 hour, in 24 hours, it must lay one egg, and in 12 hours, it must lay 0.5 eggs.
Okay. Does anyone have a different answer to this problem? This is a rather deceptive problem. Now, let's start with this. Oops. If one chicken, okay, let's put it here. If one chicken lays one egg, in one day, each chicken lays one egg in one day. That's very clear. If two chickens lay two eggs in one day, or if this is in one day, or it doesn't even matter how long it takes, right? If one chicken lays one egg, each chicken lays one egg. If two chickens lay two eggs, each chicken lays two eggs. If four chickens lay four eggs, then each chicken lays one egg. So if we have 1.5 chickens laying 1.5 eggs, then it means each chicken is laying one egg. And how long does it take? So one chicken lays one egg in 1.5 days. Then how many eggs will it lay in one day? One quick way to see this answer without doing much calculation is to divide the time into half days. There is half day, there's another half day, there is another half day. Okay, together you have 1.5 days. In this 1.5 days, you have one egg being laid in 3 different stages. That means half of one day, 1/3 of the egg is laid, the next half, another third, and then finally the remaining 1/3. So that means in one day, two-thirds of an egg is laid. I hope that's clear for everyone. 1.5 days, 1.5 chickens, 1.5 eggs. What it means is one chicken lays one egg in 1.5 days. So for each half a day, 1/3 of an egg is being laid by the chicken. So in one whole day, 2/3 of the egg is laid. Are there any questions regarding this problem? Okay, Arvind has a question. Yes, Arvind, what is it?
Sir, when you first gave the question, you said 1.5 chickens and 1.5 eggs, and now you wrote 1 chicken, 1 egg, and 1.5 days. So I'm just a little confused. Did you like make a typing error in the first time, or was it correct?
What I was trying to say is this.
Okay, sir.
Forget about the times. Let's look at how many eggs does each chicken lay. Each chicken, how many eggs do each chicken lay? If you have 10 chickens and if they lay 20 eggs, how many eggs does one chicken lay? Two. If you have 10 chickens and if you have 30 eggs, then each chicken lays 3 eggs. If you have 1 chicken and if it lays 1 egg, each chicken lays 1 egg. If you have 1.5 chickens and if 1.5 chickens lay 1.5 eggs, then each chicken lays 1 egg. So that's what I was trying to convey. The fractions here, the 1.5 eggs and 1.5 chickens, they are only meant to confuse you. All right, guys, it's now 8 o'clock and we have come to the end of today's session. There are a couple of additional problems which I can send it to you over WhatsApp group so that you can work on them in your leisure. There's the golden chain problem as well as the ant race. Both of them are very interesting and involves spatial reasoning. Thank you for being a part of today's session. I hope you liked it. We have a couple of other workshops upcoming next month. On September 5th, we have a workshop on alien life. Next week on a Saturday at 6 o'clock. It'll be quite interesting, and we will talk about why we haven't found any aliens, why it is so difficult. We'll look at some alien conspiracy theories and then see if there are any reasons to believe that aliens are in the planet or have visited the planet. And we'll also discuss the conditions necessary for life to emerge. What do you need in the universe for an intelligent life form to exist? And we also have a rocket workshop on September 19th. This will be a do-it-yourself type workshop. If you register, we will send you a kit and you can use the kit to build an air-powered rocket launcher. All right, guys, that's the end of today's session. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks again for being a part of it. Hope to see you again in the future.